Hello, my name is Gary MacDougall, and I'm going to talk to you today about sexuality. Not because I'm ashamed of it, because I'm getting over that. I'm going to talk about sexuality and ascension and why you'd want to ascend. Why do you want to ascend? Why do I want to ascend? Why do I want to personally grow? I'm going to get into that today. I'm going to get into pruning. I watched a video on I've been telling you about gardening. I've been doing some gardening out front. It's winter here. I'm wearing my toque. I'm wearing my funny toque because it's warm. I wear my toque because it's practical and it's warm. It's a little bit goofy looking, but I'm wearing it. And yeah, really into gardening. We've been planting our raspberries, even though it's freezing. Got like 6 inches of mulch on our front lawn. Plant raspberries, plant blackberries. I want to plant blueberries, but my blueberry needs some help. It's not that healthy. So before I move it, I was watching this video. This guy was pruning a blueberry. And what he talked about with pruning the blueberry was he pruned from the center so that light and air could get in. And I thought, boom, and it hit me. That's what spiritual growth is all about for me. It's about pruning out the density, pruning out the middle, all the stuff inside, all the darkness. Get that dark, the hurt, the shame. To get that energy flowing, that sexual energy flowing, that creativity, bring it up, bring that energy up into the mind. To illuminate the 1,000-petal lotus Osho talks about. I don't know if that's a Hindu teaching or if that's a Buddhist teaching, but I've heard that before. But I really get Ascension now, the science of Ascension, so I want to get into that. So I was out front, planting my blackberry, putting my mulch down, and a neighbor walked by and I said, she looked at me and she stopped. She said, "You are crazy." I just started. It was the first time somebody really took a shot at me, and it didn't offend me. Like, I got my toque on, I'm gardening in the winter and loving it, just feeling alive and loving it. And she's saying I'm crazy. And I'm like, I think of it like Einstein. Somebody said, at one point he said, either he's crazy or the world is crazy. And I think as we activate the pineal gland, as we ascend and open to oneness, open that we are all one, and you see all the greed in this world and you see all the destruction and the war, it's like, am I going nuts or are people just blind to all this stuff? So taking off the hat, dropping the craziness. Maybe I am crazy, but I'm growing, I'm getting healthy and feeling good about it. So the reason why I want to talk about ascension and sexuality and even overeating, what I find is if it's coming up for me, it's kind of universal. I see it happening with a lot of people. So I just want to talk about that. And I'm just adjusting to my hearing. I can hear now with that hat, that furry hat, I can't really hear. So often you see in this culture, people are reaching outside of themselves for consumer. We're going to be happy when we have that house, when we have that car, we have that beautiful girl, we're having sex with that girl, we're going to be happy. But if we don't, we're going to strive for it. We're going to reach for it. We're going to reach for that food. We're going to overeat our ass off. We're going to eat all that food, and then we're going to feel good. But do we really feel good when we do that? When we leave our wife for that younger woman? Not that I've ever done that. Not that I will do that. But it's almost cliche now that men do that. Even women do that. Women leave their husbands for men with more money or whatever. I mean, it's almost cliche in the Western society. So does that really bring fulfilling? Like, does it really open our hearts? Does that really activate our spirit, that 1,000-petal lotus? Does it activate the brain and make us powerful? Not for me. When I've reached outside of myself, it doesn't. And that's something that's been coming up for me. It's like I realized I gave up drugs and alcohol 17 years ago. I'm not against drugs and alcohol. I just don't do it. I've decided not to do it. But what I realize is, oftentimes, not every day. I mean, I'm a pretty lean guy. I look pretty healthy, but I do overeat at times. And I saw this thing about how this guy talked about when you overeat, a fermentation happens in your body and it creates like a state where you're like drunk. Like the same kind of things happen in the brain as when a person drinks alcohol. So I realized even though I gave up drinking years ago, I still have that feeling like I need to get drunk sometimes, or that feeling like, if I eat too much. I've been even eating like more organic food lately, getting healthier, but realize that there are some times like at Thanksgiving or Christmas, and I think occasionally once in a while it's going to be okay. If I'm in moderation, it's okay, but just recognizing, being mindful of the fact that maybe sometimes I do overeat. And what am I doing? Am I stuffing down that emotions? Am I feeling uncomfortable with something? Maybe I need to look at that. I do meditation and yoga every day, journal write. Maybe I just need to get that stuff out. And as I do, I find I have been eating a lot lighter lately, but just being mindful of the fact that sometimes I do overeat or reach, like people reach for sexuality. It's like there's this like neediness. And I was thinking about sexuality this week. Like, where is it in my culture that I learned that like sexuality is something to be quiet about or not talk about or be ashamed about? My parents, they never told me it was shameful, or I was never taught by them that it was shameful. We didn't go to church, so it wasn't like sex is sin, or like that wasn't brought up in me. But for some reason, I was embarrassed to talk about. I'd be embarrassed to talk about it. Like each week, there's like a topic that comes up, like, oh, I can't talk about sexuality. That's kind of shameful. It's like, why am I ashamed of sexuality? Everybody has it. Everybody has that feeling. It's like the most powerful feeling in every body. If you're feeling sexual right now, like that's just. It's just in us. So how do you use sexuality to ascend? If we're reaching outside, it's like we're not getting sex, oh, we're not happy. You know, the energy's not going to ascend. We're going to miss our mark. I heard Santos Bonacci was talking about in the body is a holy land. This video on YouTube. It was fascinating. The science of ascension. He talked about how, you know, if we have sexuality like with a prostitute or pornography or just having sex for the fact, just to get off, just to have that deathless death, as Hosier says in his new song, Take Me to Church. We just get off. Does that energy really rise up? So really into, like, I've heard this like 20 years ago about you having sexuality to open the three fires, the fire of that sex chakra, but also open the heart. Like, have sex if you love your partner, if you're in a marriage, if you're dating or whatever. Only have sex if it's really going to open your heart. If you have sex that, you know, charges that energy, that sexual energy, but then opens the heart, and just use sexuality, like, you know, save the orgasm, you know, slow it down, be loving, and use that energy to come up and fire up that brain, fire up that pineal gland. You know, sexuality can nurture the organs if you take time with it, but it can also nurture the spirit. It can also bring that energy up. So why would we want to, you know, not overeat and bring this energy up? I really want to get into that because, you know, I think the reason what really started waking me up is I wanted to be alive. I wanted to be spiritually free. I felt like so much of my soul was condensed in attached to a job, or attached to this way of life, or attached to what TV said I had to have the car and the house. But I want to be alive first. I can still have the job and the house, but maybe I'm not so rigidly attached to it. I'm guided by my soul, guided by that spirit, guided by my creativity, my individualism, my uniqueness, but doing it peacefully. You know, pruning away the density, the shame around sexuality, or pruning away that overeating so that energy can come up. But why? Why do we want to grow, feel free? My big why, not just for my family. I mean, I want to provide a great life for my family. I want to help lots of people, help people grow and evolve and ascend. But a real big reason is I want as many people on this planet to ascend as possible, to grow and to activate that spirit. I could say we could all be of service, but if you don't bring that energy up, people naturally are going to be thinking about how they're going to fill their own pocketbooks, how they're going to get money. But if you start meditating and bringing that energy up, the spirit wants to give. The spirit wants to be of service. So I want to raise my consciousness, raise my spirit to activate that service, and inspire as many people to activate that spirit. Activate their spirit, activate their consciousness, activate service. We activate our gifts and abilities. You know, I've said this before. The human being is like the greatest. What are we? We're the greatest unmined, untapped resource on the planet. If we start activating our spirits, activating that creativity, you know, maybe there'd be less war. We stop reaching outside for greed. And you know, you see a lot of videos on the internet about, you know, these different families that rule the world, the same families that own oil, that own, you know, farming like Monsanto, the same families that own all these things. And I really got to talk about this because, you know, it kind of scared me at first, and it kind of bugged me. So they own the television station, so they show us what they want us to see. So if they're going to go to war, they're going to say there's weapons of mass destruction, but were there really? They never found them. They really went to war because of oil. And this is interesting. I ran into this guy. I was so impressed by this man who was at skating this week. He was skating and he had women's figure skates on. He couldn't even stand up on his skates, but he had kids with him. So I thought, what a brave guy. He's going out there because his kids could skate, but he's going to skate because he's going to show his kids that he wants to have fun. So I introduced myself, said, hey, right on, good job. And he had an accent, so it like clearly was from another country. And I looked at his wife, and she had a hijab on. So I thought, oh, maybe I'm talking about Iran in my last video. Maybe they're from Iran. It turns out he's from Iraq. So I thought, my first thought is even worse. You know, they're our enemy. And I said, geez, you know, I just watched a show in Iran and the people were beautiful and the woman had the hijab, and, you know, you look into their eyes and their souls were beautiful. You could see that they were good people in Iran. And I could see that this guy was a good person. but he came across a little bit sketchy. So either or, he's a terrorist and he's going to attack us, or he's just a good guy who came here 8 years ago to get he had 5 kids with him, to get his family. He came here 8 years ago to get his family out of a country that we're bombing the crap out of. And he's just a good person, and he wants to get back here. And he wants to be safe, and he wants to be free. So his wife and his kids moved here 4 years ago. So I could just imagine if I was being bombed and I would leave to a safe place and I'd want to bring my family, I would do that. I would make that sacrifice. So I want to ascend now to make this world as free of a place as possible, to heal as much greed as possible, to activate as much light, to activate as much love, to activate as much higher consciousness, to activate, peace for the planet. I think about how in 2008 in America, like I remember when the vote was going on, I was so proud because the environment was like the main issue. It was the hot topic. I think it was 2008. It might have been 2004. I'm not really into politics, but I just remember I was so impressed. Like, yes, the environment. People are going to care about the environment now. And then the economy crashed. And, I'm looking at it and seeing how all these people, like, did the economy crash on purpose so that they take the minds off the environment? Like, are we being manipulated, or do these things just happen randomly? Anyway, there's lots of information out there about that, but I want to focus more on the light. Healing, pruning away the darkness, inside. The real war is inside our bodies. It's inside our mind. It's dealing with the greed. It's dealing with our fears, overcoming fears, insecurities, pruning that away so that we can be free. We can be powerful. And this world, this earth, can be a better place. I could keep going. Keystone species. I had so much hope this week. I saw this video about beavers. I watched a video on beavers and seals this week. My kids love these, so we watched them together. I want to, this is a TV that we watched together. It's about seals and beavers. And a beaver came back in Nevada. It was desert. There was no life. It came back up the stream when there was water. It created a dam. When it created that dam, it created water. When it created water, all this life form started coming back. This vegetation started growing. These birds started coming back. So because of one keystone species, these animals started coming back. And it made me think about how if one person changes and grows and ascends, how much life can come back to this earth. So I want to be like that beaver. I want you to be like that beaver. Or think about the seals. Seals were almost totally killed when the white man came in and almost killed them, wiped them away because they're selling their pelts for money. But now they've been reintroduced. But the problem is there's too many seals, and the seals are now eating too many fish. And First Nations people, their way of life is being destroyed by the seals. So it's like, so now in Canada we can't kill the seals, but in Alaska, they kill some seals. I mean, it sounds terrible. Seals are beautiful, but they kill some seals just to control the population, to be stewards of the land, so that there's a good population of seals, but there's also a good population of fish. They can fish. And they make money also up there in Alaska and here by tourism, by watching the seals. So just think about like creating harmony on this planet, to be a good steward of the earth, and to ascend and grow and prune away the darkness and ascend and grow to make this world a better place. That is my mission in life. That is what I'm here for. If you can make the world a better place, awesome. That is all I got. And my hat is gone. And maybe I'm crazy. Lots of love.